Leaked Ryan Reynolds voice memos exposed. It is so clear Blake's case is falling apart. She's destroying her cred. Ryan Reynolds.
Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds are reportedly spiraling as damaging revelations burst into the public eye, with leaked information painting a picture of desperation, hypocrisy, and aggressive smear tactics aimed at Justinbaldoni, turning what was once a carefully managed celebrity image into a messy and highly public unraveling that has left their credibility under intense scrutiny.
All agree that the moral crimes committed here by Ryan Reynolds against Justinbaldoni have amounted to high treason.
From failed legal stunts to resurfacing scandals, the couple's once carefully curated public image is collapsing at breakneck speed, unraveling even faster than their widely criticized lawsuit and exposing cracks they can no longer smooth over with spin or spectacle.
Audio, Blake and Ryan's agent seemingly didn't want you to hear.
I wonder if you could tell us about a little bit of a mess that I gather you've been involved in.
Oh yeah. I know where you're going with this one.
Do you have notes on it?
Oh yeah. Those are the two things I said to myself. This could come up.
He brought notes on it. So this was all arranged.
Okay, so I have to admit, I don't keep up that much on Hollywood. But even I caught wind of the Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds. Let the record show for those listening at home, Ari just slit his throat.
I mean, it's a fucked up, bad situation that Baldoni, whatever his name is doing. And
it's an effed up situation. Whatever, Baldoni, whatever his name is doing. Whatever, he's your client. What a scumbag you are.
Now, he was your client too,
until I fired him.
Right.
Did you hear that?
They didn't record the show.
Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds were once seen as the untouchable Hollywood couple, the picture-perfect blend of charm, wit, and supposedly effortless likability. But that glossy image has cracked completely as their quiet power trip spiraled into a full-blown disaster, leaving them desperately scrambling to contain the fallout with some of the weakest and most transparent PR tactics the industry has seen in years.
Weren't the first to do this. It was Blake Lively, it was Ryan Reynolds, this was their strategy, and now they kind of want to put the genie back in the bottle. But guess what? The genie does not want to go back in the bottle. The genie likes to be free.
What began as a behind-the-scenes hissy fit over It Ends With Us has spiraled into a scandal so chaotic it makes the Kardashians look like a well-run monarchy, with every clumsy attempt by Reynolds and Lively to control the narrative only pouring more fuel onto an already raging fire. And at this stage, the only thing they've managed to truly end is their own credibility.
And finally, we can now see that Ryan was panicked in general.
Leaked recordings, failed legal maneuvers, and sheer, unfiltered desperation have completely dismantled their once golden couple image, and to many observers it has been almost poetic to watch the illusion fall apart in real time. But looming behind the chaos is Hollywood's favorite power broker, Ari Emanuel, the CEO of WME and long-rumored industry guardian angel hovering over Ryan and Blake as their carefully protected bubble finally starts to collapse.
This is where Ari Emanuel of WME, who is Blake, Ryan, and was Justin's agent, spoke very negatively, calling Justin baloney, all this stuff. He leveled in and talked about why he believes Blake and Ryan.
This guy thought he was being clever when he went on Freakonomics and slipped in a petty jab calling Justinbaldoni Justin Baloney, like some middle school bully who peaked in the 8th grade and never quite outgrew it.
Something odd happened. The podcast didn't get recorded. Neither the audio nor the YouTube video, both just miraculously didn't get recorded.
But here's where it gets really interesting. That episode just so happened to be the only one in Freakonomics history that mysteriously failed to record. No audio, no video, leaving a huge gap in the timeline, right where Ari openly admitted that Baldoni was fired because Ryan and Blake pressured him to do it. That's right.
The audio, Blake and Ryan's agent seemingly didn't want you to hear.
I wonder if you could tell us about a little bit of a mess that I gather you've been involved in.
Oh yeah. I know where you're going with this one.
Do you have notes on it?
Oh yeah. Those are the two things I said to myself. This could come up.
He brought notes on it. So this was all arranged.
Okay, so I have to admit, I don't keep up that much on Hollywood. But even I caught wind of the Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds. Let the record show for those listening at home, Ari just slit his throat.
I mean, it's a fucked up, bad situation that Baldoni, whatever his name is doing. And it's part
It's an effed up situation. Whatever, Baldoni, whatever his name is doing. Whatever, he's your client. What a scumbag you are.
Now, he was your client too, until recently.
until I fired him.
Right.
The same people whining about how Baldoni supposedly retaliated against them were the ones actually blacklisting him behind closed doors. Now, take a moment to appreciate the sheer absurdity of that missing recording. Freakonomics has been running for 15 years without a single technical issue, recording thousands of live and in-studio interviews flawlessly, yet somehow this one episode conveniently vanished.
He's your client. What a scumbag.
But the one time a high-powered Hollywood exec actually puts his foot in his mouth and spills a little too much, the entire recording just magically disappears. What a coincidence. The only thing missing from this pathetic cover-up is someone tripping over a cable and yelling oops, like it's some badly written sitcom.
He was your client too, until recently.
Until I fired him.
Right.
Did you hear that? I fired him. Yeah, he was. I fired him. Because you didn't even know his name? Like, so disrespectful.
Of course, because nothing about this scandal is even remotely subtle. A journalist conveniently leaked the audio anyway. And surprise, surprise, Ari Emanuel did admit that he fired Baldoni under pressure from Reynolds and Lively.
I've known Ryan and Blake for over a decade. They're really incredible people. In Hollywood, they have been incredibly successful. People work with them. They've never had any bad mojo out there and treated people badly.
But that's not even the best part. He straight up called himself ride or die for them because nothing says objective business decision like acting like a Deadpool groupie while actively ruining someone's career.
Negatively, calling Justin baloney, all this stuff. He leveled in and talked about why he believes Blake and Ryan, while seemingly continuing to defame Justin. This is an agent, mind you, who has not yet publicly dropped Diddy, but he dropped Justin Baldoni because Blake and Ryan made him?
If that weren't enough, now we have the saga of Ryan Reynolds' voice memos. Out of nowhere, these bizarre recordings surfaced, making it seem like Reynolds was sending aggressive messages to Baldoni. Except plot twist, they were completely AI-generated.
Incredible people. In Hollywood, they have been incredibly successful. People work with them. They've never had any bad mojo out there and treated people badly.
That's right. Someone, and by someone I mean a team of panicked PR gremlins, thought it'd be a brilliant idea to fake a scandal inside the scandal. It's like watching someone dig a hole, realize they're stuck, and then start furiously shoveling even deeper.
Let's think about this
logically. Who actually benefits from flooding the internet with obviously fake AI voice memos of Ryan Reynolds screaming at Baldoni? Certainly not Team Baldoni, because the moment these were debunked, it only gave Blake's side a convenient C. The internet is full of lies argument.
Reynolds on the Enneagram is a psycho. That's what he is. He's just a psycho. His number is psycho.
The only ones with a motive to toss fake dirt into the mix are Reynolds and Lively themselves. They were already getting torched by public opinion, so why not drop some blatantly false content, have it debunked, and then use that as an excuse to dismiss every other leak as just more internet lies?
This man, you are a bozo and you look like a clown here. Now, some could say you're showing your loyalty, but no, I think it's going to really actually hurt you in the end. And this is going to be tar on your face. You're going to regret this one. And I think that's why you wanted this audio not to actually get released.
If that was their plan, it failed spectacularly. Instead of making Baldoni look bad, it just made Ryan and Blake appear even more desperate. With nothing real to attack him with, they resorted to AI deepfakes, like some rejected Black Mirror episode where the villain is just a passive-aggressive guy from Vancouver who can't handle the thought of his wife being out of his sight for more than 5 minutes.
Video in question.
Justin, maybe you need to stop talking about my wife's weight. What is your problem, Ryan?
This is AI and not Justin. There's no need for AI. The Baldoni team have more than enough real, factual evidence to show the depravity of Lively and her team's all-out lies without needing the assistance of AI programs.
The fact that Reynolds and Lively, with all their resources, actually thought this was a good strategy tells you everything you need to know about just how bad things have gotten for them. Every attempt to spin the situation has been a total disaster. They've tried manipulating the press, tossing fake scandals into the mix, and even had their Hollywood puppet master literally erase an entire podcast episode.
Just see Ryan sitting there like, yes, this is exactly what I want, a puppy to kick in the mouth, and you'll do what I say.
And yet, none of it is working. The truth keeps slipping through the cracks, and no matter how many connections they try to leverage, people aren't buying their nonsense anymore. This isn't just about a movie dispute. It's about watching a couple who built their brand on being funny, relatable, effortlessly cool celebrities completely destroy their own reputations by acting vindictive, manipulative, and embarrassingly insecure. Their golden couple illusion is officially shattered, and they have no one to blame but themselves.
You don't want to believe that execs at the very tippity top are being essentially threatened or bullied or coerced or extorted and by a couple like Ryan and Blake or like Taylor Swift, right?
Blake Lively really thought she was that powerful. She genuinely believed she could walk into a courtroom, demand 2.5 years worth of someone else's personal data, and the judge would just hand it over with a little bow on top. But reality check. She's not the FBI, and the judge made that crystal clear when he denied her absurd request.
Lively's case just slapped down their psychopathic request for 2.5 years worth of every message that Justin Baldoni and Justin Heath and the PR agents have ever sent to everybody, plus location data. We knew that was going to happen.
Seriously, imagine being so desperate to win a case that you feel the need to dig through years of someone's emails, texts, and probably even their DoorDash orders just to find something, anything, to support your ridiculous claims. It's almost like she has no real evidence and is just hoping to stumble across something incriminating after the fact.
Lawyers are stupid. It's like he's like being nice here. He's like, your lawyers are really stupid.
And let's be real. If Blake actually got access to those messages, what would she even find? Baldoni sending heart emojis to his wife, confirming a meeting about kombucha sales, or some painfully normal logistics. What's the supposed smoking gun here? Does she honestly think there's a hidden text where Justin explicitly wrote, "Yes, I plan to ruin Blake Lively's life. Let's proceed with the evil plan"?
Between the two, what a standard court protective order is and what Blake Lively's team is asking for, which is an attorney's eyes only.
Because if she does, she's even dumber than we thought, but that's just the level of delusion we're dealing with here. She couldn't even get 2 weeks worth of texts, let alone 2.5 years, because the court saw right through this blatant fishing expedition.
Not able to hold a logical thought, but guess what? I, as a judge, I am able to hold a logical thought, so we're going to slap that down. You obviously cannot do.
What makes this even funnier is that this isn't how a strong case works. If you had real proof, you wouldn't be building a case backwards, trying to dig up evidence after the fact. You'd already have actual receipts. But since she doesn't, she's just tossing subpoenas around like confetti at a wedding, hoping something sticks. If this lawsuit were a murder mystery, Lively would be the detective pointing at random people, claiming it's you, without even having a body or a crime. At this point, she and Ryan should probably just stick to overpriced gin and boring hair products, because legal battles clearly aren't their strong suit.
A bully being, a bully attacking somebody. The bully being Blake Lively and our powerful lawyers. And thank goodness Justin's got support to be able to.
Of course, Hollywood had to do what it does best, run a pathetic smear campaign. Enter TMZ, who suddenly decided to dredge up a completely irrelevant 2021 lawsuit that had nothing to do with this case, but was conveniently framed to make Baldoni look bad. Apparently, back in 2021, Baldoni's name was tied to a copyright dispute involving a script, and guess what? It was resolved with zero liability on his part. But TMZ, being the glorified gossip rag that it is, made sure to spin it like Baldoni's own lawyer had sued him for some massive crime, when in reality the whole situation was about as dramatic as arguing over who called shotgun on a car ride.
Corruption is real. The cover-up is real. And Blake Lively's side is doing it too.
Even funnier, the very same lawyer they tried to weaponize against Baldoni, Brian Fredman, immediately came out and said Baldoni and his production company did nothing wrong. In fact, Fredman even stated that working with Baldoni proved how ethical and honorable he was. But did TMZ put that in their headline? Of course not. They buried it because the goal was never to tell the truth. The goal was to make Baldoni look guilty of something. Anything. So Blake and Ryan could keep playing the victim.
It blows my mind how dumb Blake Lively's team is and how just, I guess, egocentric, maniacal that she thinks that she can tell the world, you didn't see what you actually saw with your eyes. It's
And let's not pretend this smear campaign is anything new. Hollywood has always loved protecting its powerful insiders while throwing outsiders under the bus. You really think TMZ, which basically functions as a PR machine for A-list celebrities, just happened to dig up a resolved lawsuit from years ago at the exact moment Blake Lively needed a distraction? Please. Someone on Team Lively made a call, and TMZ answered like the obedient little lapdogs they are.
See her continue to level out. Where else would this have come from? Why did TMZ care to report this? Someone had to tip them off, and it's safe to assume it's Team Blake. I'd love to see their text messages now to see if they're still tipping things off.
But wait, it gets even more embarrassing. When the fake lawsuits and media hit jobs didn't work, they actually resorted to an online petition to have Baldoni banned from SAG-AFTRA and the PGA. That's right, when all else failed, someone, who could it be, thought an internet petition would be the thing that finally takes Baldoni down. And let's just acknowledge the absolute stupidity of this idea. How do you go from a high-powered lawsuit to a changed org petition, like you're trying to get a Netflix show renewed?
She's so glad they did, but now she wants all other footage to not come forward. And we're supposed to be like, yeah, you go, girl.
Now, I'm not saying Ryan Reynolds was behind it, and this is a pretty big, but let's not ignore that this is exactly the kind of unhinged, passive-aggressive prank he's known for. Reynolds has built his entire public persona on being that guy, the one who lands funny jabs at people under the guise of humor, the witty, snarky jerk who makes you laugh. It's literally his brand, and we already know from the lawsuit that he's been obsessed with getting Baldoni blacklisted from Hollywood.
Text messages, reading through the dailies, reading through the script, and he just decided, okay, you know what? This entire production needs to be halted. I don't trust my wife.
So, let's connect the dots for a second. Ryan has a documented history of going out of his way to sabotage Baldoni. He has a long track record of hiding attacks behind just joking, humor, and so-called pranks. And then, conveniently, a bizarre online petition appears trying to ban Baldoni from Hollywood under the name of a fictional murderer from a psychological thriller. At some point, you have to stop calling it coincidence and start calling it what it looks like, because this whole thing absolutely reeks of Reynolds' petty fingerprints all over it.
No amount of I'm sorry's will ever undo it. Hurt people hurt people.
Even if it wasn't him directly, someone in his inner circle clearly took inspiration from the way he operates, because he's built his entire career on controlling narratives through humor, and if there's one thing Team Ryan and Blake absolutely cannot handle, it's losing control of the narrative. So when everything started going south for them, they pulled the most pathetic last-ditch move imaginable, a fake online petition created under the name of a fictional stalker, desperately trying to cancel Baldoni for absolutely nothing at all.
Lively later objected to this behavior. Mr. Baldoni's response was, "I'm not even attracted to you."
It's honestly hilarious watching the downfall, because they've gone from untouchable Hollywood royalty to desperately trying to frame someone with fake AI recordings, failed lawsuits, and humiliating online petitions, like two rich kids throwing a tantrum because their trust fund isn't refilling fast enough. Every move they make only confirms how unbelievably desperate they are to come out on top, yet nothing is working, and that's the best part. No matter how many articles they plant, how many legal tricks they try to pull, or how many bizarre anonymous campaigns they launch, people simply aren't buying their nonsense anymore, and the illusion they relied on for years has completely collapsed.
The people who are supporting Blake, because I've engaged with someone online, are the people who haven't done any research. And I suspect that's what Team Blake is relying on. She's a big star, she's got big famous friends, and they are just hoping that the mass of public who aren't actually tuning in will just believe what.
At this point, Ryan and Blake should just accept their fate and go full villain mode, get matching leather outfits, deliver dramatic monologues, maybe even twirl a mustache, because no one is buying their innocent victim act anymore. Honestly, watching them try to keep up the illusion is just sad. I'm still shocked at how many lies have been told. Okay, Ryan Reynolds really thought he could get away with that joke. standing on a talk show stage in front of a national audience and casually describing what can only be called a blatant act of sexual misconduct, thinking it was hilarious. He went into excruciating detail about how he removed Olivia Wilde's top, got distracted by stickers on her breasts, and noted that 65 crew members stood around witnessing the whole thing like it was some bizarre frat house initiation. Instead of realizing, hey, maybe this isn't something I should be bragging about, he laughed, the audience laughed, the host laughed, because apparently in Ryan Reynolds' world, making wildly inappropriate jokes about sexually humiliating your co-stars is just another Wednesday. Now, here's where it gets truly deliciously hypocritical. This exact scandal is unfolding while his wife is literally suing someone over a sexual harassment claim.
Just shocked at how many lies were told.
Let that sink in. Blake Lively is out here waving the flag of justice, claiming she's a victim of an oppressive industry, and yet her own husband, Hollywood sweetheart, was casually making on-air confessions about behavior that, in any other workplace, would get someone fired on the spot.
Genuinely don't like Blake Lively. Like I genuinely know. I've known she's a brat. Nobody's paying me to say this. No one's told me to say this. I think people really didn't like her during those premiere things, and there was no plot against you. Okay.
So, what's the logic here? If Ryan does it, it's just a joke. But if anyone else does something even remotely questionable, it's a full-blown lawsuit. That's rich. And the public isn't buying the damage control either. The resurfaced clip has sparked huge backlash, with people now questioning just how nice and harmless Reynolds really is.
He's completely flirtatious with him.
And let's be honest, if this were anyone other than Ryan Reynolds, it would have been career-ending. But of course, Hollywood and its selective outrage are pretending like it never happened. Meanwhile, Lively's entire legal case is collapsing under the weight of its own hypocrisy.
Basically alerting the public to the fact that Ryan Reynolds is kind of a psycho. Like she didn't say it, but she was like, he's pretty serious. Like she's basically letting people know that he puts on this persona as this funny, nice guy, and this isn't who he is.
Speaking of things collapsing, Blake Lively's carefully curated public image is in shambles, thanks to former co-stars and industry figures finally speaking up about what she's really like behind the scenes. Surprise, surprise. She's not the charming, down-to-earth sweetheart she pretends to be. Instead, she comes across as a high-maintenance diva and bully brat. Anonymous crew members from the rhythm section have shared not-so-shocking details about working with her. She was rude, dismissive, and even refused to make eye contact with people on set. Imagine being so self-absorbed that you can't even look at the people literally paid to make you look good. That's peak entitlement right there.
Else. I'm so surprised that Ryan Reynolds isn't funny. This is like a shocker to me. I see him
he's
walking
a good
up
actor.
and down our neighborhood all the time.
He can act funny. But he isn't funny.
And it doesn't stop at being just socially unbearable. Apparently, Blake was so paranoid and self-important that she had a bodyguard with her 24/7, even on closed sets where no one else was allowed in. What was she afraid of? A grip operator asking what kind of coffee she wanted? Was she expecting an assassination attempt in the middle of a makeup trailer? This wasn't some high-stakes CIA operation. It was a movie set. But no, Queen Blake had to make sure she was protected at all times from the terrifying danger of interacting with regular human beings.
She seems like a bully. She was such a high-maintenance diva bully brat.
And apparently, she was so unbearable that multiple co-stars and crew members openly admitted they couldn't stand her. One actor even recalled realizing they didn't like her just 10 minutes into working together. That has to be some kind of record. Imagine being so unpleasant that people are over you before lunch break even starts.
He wanted her vision to be included in.
Lawrence described their past work together as tense and frustrating because Ryan, surprise, surprise, was so arrogant and insecure that he couldn't handle feedback. Imagine being so insufferable that the mere suggestion you could improve sends you into a full-on meltdown. That's the level of ego we're dealing with here.
She alleges that she's a Me Too victim there. That's absurd.
Apparently, the issue stemmed from Ryan trying to turn a serious role into a comedic one, even though it wasn't supposed to be funny. He was literally told, stop trying to be Jim Carrey, this isn't that kind of role. And instead of being, professional, he threw a tantrum and stormed off set.
Us to believe this is actionable harassment, what we just witnessed there. You tell me whether that's what that looks like to you.
First of all, the audacity. You're a young actor, working with Oscar-nominated producers, and instead of listening to people who actually know what they're doing, you decide you know best. This is the same guy who now acts like some humble, lovable dude who just cracks jokes for fun, when in reality, he's been a diva since day one. And let's not forget, this was years before he was famous. He wasn't even a big deal yet, and he was already that entitled. Imagine how much worse he is now, with billion-dollar brand A-list status and a wife who literally thinks she can subpoena half of Hollywood to win a lawsuit. Blake and Ryan's PR nightmare isn't ending anytime soon, so make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications, because I'll be here exposing every shady move they try to pull next.